fight day, and welcome into the Stokastic.com live for lock show. Get you right here for UFC Vegas 63, which goes down in 1 hour from now from the UFC Apex there in Las Vegas, Nevada. Ton of combat sports to take in today. Bellator is currently going on overseas. That's over there right now on YouTube, and next hour will be over on Showtime, so you can catch the Bellator fights. You got that. We got UFC fights. Lomachenko's fighting tonight in boxing, and I know, Pete, I know you can't wait for Jake Paul Anderson Silva.
I knew you were going to say something stupid like that. What's up, guys? What's up, Jason? Yeah, I am not looking forward to that at all. Who knows? I hope Silva wins, but the other fights today, that there's some intriguing matchups. Not the best card, but kind of like a hangover card after the amazing pay-per-view last weekend. So can't really complain. Going to take in all the fights as much as I can before work. And hopefully, I'm in a good section tonight where I can kind of look at the sports book and the bars right there to kind of watch some of the fights while I'm working. So what's going on, everybody?
Yeah, my buddy Crisco Kid's actually DJing the Paul Anderson fight tonight. He's been doing the DJing out there all week. So,
really?
Yeah, because he does a show with us too. And one of the things he told, he's like, yeah, Jake Paul's an old school hip hop head. I was like, oh, yeah. That's interesting. I'm that throwback kind of guy too. So, but yeah,
I just don't know who I hate more. Who do I hate more? Do I hate Jake or do I hate Logan? I really feel like I might hate Logan more than I hate Jake. Like, at least Jake's going in there and like testing them. So I don't know. Who knows? They both suck.
Yeah, it's Uriah Hall, former UFC fighters on that card, taking on Le'Veon Bell.
Bro,
for people nuts, did you see the Uriah Hall comments this week?
I did, and I didn't really listen to it. I kind of like look at the highlights, and it's definitely concerning. It's taxing on the body mentally more than anything. The ups and downs of the sport, fighting depression, fighting, recency bias. You're only as good as your last fight. One day you're the greatest, next day you suck and you need to get kicked out. Never mind when sports betting is a part of everything now. So you got people losing money on you more so than ever before. So I feel for the guy, but falling from grace, fighting Le'Veon Bell, it's so embarrassing, Jason, for me from a purist standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint. I can see where like people may be intrigued, but I don't know. It's not my thing.
I spoke to Kama Worthy yesterday. It's going to be my podcast tomorrow, and he announced his retirement from MMA. He's not retiring from combat sports. He's basically just going to do striking competitions, boxing. Did tell me no bare knuckle. He's not going the bare knuckle route. He's like, he goes, I don't want to do that. He goes, I'm going to do traditional boxing route. And he actually brought up the Uriah Hall comments, and he's like, I haven't felt that. He goes, but ever since I heard him say it, he goes, hasn't been in the back of my mind that I could go into a depression on not having an MMA fight. He goes, yeah. He goes, it definitely, and I think for you as a fighter, I think you understand where Uriah Hall's coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I've been there. And I feel for Uriah Hall. I feel for a lot of people that, fall from grace and one day they're the best. The next thing they're struggling to find themselves. As far as the comment worthy, that was a little disappointing when I saw your tweet. I don't know if you saw my tweet, but it's a bummer.
Okay, I meant to call you yesterday, kind of say, hey, here's what he's saying here. Look, and Kama's thing is, he's like, look, I'm 36 years old. He goes, and he's saying my body is breaking down. And he was talking about being at 155 pounds, which is the division that you're in. He said, it's a taxing division because everyone is just so big. I've talked about this for the show. There's lightweights I know that walk around between 190 and 200 and cut down to 155.
Yeah. Well, let's try to, persuade Kama to stay around a little bit. Maybe I got to get back in the win column and then call out Kama Worthy. I think it's a great stylistic matchup for me. Regardless, weight cutting's ridiculous in this sport. We know it. We saw somebody who is fighting my guy, Christian Rodriguez, Josh Weems. He missed weight. So he stepped up on short notice to kind of save the fight, save the card. I looked at his Instagram. He was talking about and kind of, mentioning how he's never really misses weight and he cut 17 pounds within 3 days. Automatically makes me like Christian Rodriguez more. Like I've already said that I like Christian Rodriguez a lot. So it solidifies my stance on Christian Rodriguez today.
By the way, of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks a little bit later on in the show. We'll talk about some of those PrizePicks props that we do like. Of course, do us a huge favor. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Let's try to get over 125 before we get out of here for live before lock. Of course, hit that subscribe button so you subscribe to the channel to get all the great content we have over here at Stokastic.com. Hit that notification bell so you know when a new show is live here on the channel. Of course, coming up a little bit later on after us, 5 p.m. Eastern time. You got NBA Deeper Dive, and then, of course, that'll be followed by Live Before Lock. And of course, if you ever miss any of our strategy shows, you can check that out as a part of the podcast network over there. You can get those links over at Stokastic.com. Now, Pete, when I was developing my lineups today and going into Cruncher, I really went into the tools heavy today more than I normally would. And the biggest thing is I say, you know what? I'm stacking the main event.
Yeah, I mean, you and I kind of had a conversation about that, and I think it's completely fair. From a cash standpoint, I think it's going to be a very common choice. It's like a no-brainer. 8,200, 8,000, 5-round fight, very close, very closely lined, and also like how all analysts perceive this fight. Like you could make an argument for either one of these guys. I think it's going to come down to the 5th round, and even in a loss, these guys can pay off, which is something that's probably going to be optimal today. A loss, a part of the optimal lineup. And even for GPPs, I definitely stacked it. It's the only fight I stacked. It's 5 rounds. It just makes too much sense today.
Yeah, I mean, and ownership's not crazy. I mean, it's ownership that you would expect on the main event, but the fact of this isn't a 13 fight card, ownership is very spread out. Like, I mean, I love to look at potential leverage spots, and if you're a Stokastic Plus member, I'm looking at that underneath 20%. I mean, and really, when you look at the fighters that are drawing underneath 20%, a lot of them you just don't want to get to. Like, okay, I do not want to get to Jared Vanderaa at 15%. I don't want to get there
today, though.
I don't. I mean, look, I understand that he's made some changes. He went to a different camp for this one, all that. We've seen what we've seen out of Jared Vanderaa. I don't know how you trust him.
Yeah, I agree. You can't trust. Like, trust and Jared Vanderaa do not go hand in hand. But the good thing that's working in his favor is that he's facing a UFC debutant in Waldo Cortez Acosta. So, yeah, Vanderaa is 1-5, but that's 6 more actual UFC fights than Cortez Acosta has. So that's the argument I can make for Jared Vanderaa. He's looked terrible in the Andrei Arlovsky fight and in the Justin Tafa fight. At least he put out some volume. And you can make an argument that the Andrei Arlovsky fight could have swayed in his favor. It was close, but what that tells me is he's game to go 15 minutes. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, which I don't understand how, because he does not truly look it when it hits the mat. And if he went the takedown route, which he has not done in the UFC, he did so on the Contender Series, getting in top position, landing a good ground and pound. There's some upside with his salary at 7,200. I mean, we're always looking for wrestlers or grapplers to kind of fill out our spots within our lineup, especially when they're underdogs. So we don't know how Cortez Acosta is going to handle the bright lights, his debut, octagon jitters. How is he outside of round 1? I think he's a very sloppy fighter. I think heavyweights in general, for the most part, are extremely sloppy. That's why I like a Cain Velasquez, Francis Ngannou, Cyril Gane. Technicians like that are hard to come by. For the most part, it comes down to cardio and who has the better cardio. So Jared Vanderaa could make a case to make it and pull off this fight. But as far as like trustworthy candidates, it's an ugly week, and it's one of those weeks where you can't really feel good about your lineups. Probably the less comfortable you feel with your lineups, the more optimal they have, more optimal implications they have.
I mentioned this question that came in over our Discord just a little while ago, because you talked about this on a strategy show, that you want to see what Moto looks like on the scale. And I know me and you talked about him right before the fight was over in Chicken Dinner 1970, saying any change of opinion on the Dirt and Moto fight after the weigh-ins.
I thought Moto looked good, and I did a little bit of a deep dive, and it's a guy who's been consistently training. So I like that. I like that a lot. Throughout September, October, he's training. He didn't look like a guy, in Joshua Weems, who's just taking an opportunity to get inside the UFC. Obviously, it is an opportunity, but he seems prepared. And I like that a lot, especially when he has legitimate experience and skills in every department. And how you can beat Cody Durden is by having a submission game, and that is exactly what Moda has. He has an excellent submission game and really dangerous striking. And we already know that Durden's going to be shooting. So as long as he doesn't play jiu-jitsu off of his back and he's too comfortable off of his back and he kind of sprawling brawls and threatens the neck, I like him here. I love the mid-range today. Like you and I were talking, I absolutely love the mid-range. That's where I'm centrally focused today. And whereas everybody tends to go high and low when it comes to DFS in general, especially NBA, I kind of like to go where fighters are lost in the shuffle. So mid-range all day for me.
I was telling Pete before the show this. If Phil Hawes goes out there and is a bust today, I'm screwed. Flat out.
Yeah.
I'm screwed if Phil Hawes goes out there and is a bust. He needs to be a boom play today for me, but like I'm with you. That 8,000 to 85 range, I love that range today.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I would kind of say to the 87 because I really like Josh Frem today. And Trayshawn Gore, he just doesn't let his hands go. He's too tentative, too hesitant. And it's a guy that I was backing prior. So if he comes out here and he actually looks like the fighter that I was touting months ago, I'm going to be a little irritated. But that's how MMA is. You know, we're constantly making adjustments. We're changing coaching staff. We're changing game plans. And I just think that from everything I've seen on tape, Josh Frem is just so much more skilled than Trayshawn Gore. And you do not have to worry about him fighting for your dollar. Trayshawn Gore will sit there and have a staring contest for 14 minutes trying to land one sniper right hand. Yep. And I just can't deal with that. Obviously, I have exposure to him, but like much more confidence in Josh Frem today.
You know, when I look at this slate, we talk about from the more on the DraftKings perspective of looking for grapplers, looking for fighters who have the ability to take the fight to the ground. You already mentioned one from the Cody Durden. Durden is a wrestler. He's going to try to get the fight to the ground. The other ones that I label as takedown guys today, Park, Hooper, Frem. Is there anyone else that jumps out to you? I have one sneaky takedown artist today.
From a takedown perspective,
you would not think of this one, but I could see him blending and scoring multiple takedowns. They may not be on the ground long, but he gets the fight to the ground.
Let's hear it. Who?
Calvin Kattar. We've seen him start to utilize more grappling recently.
I don't know about that one. Hey, you're right though. We have, but I'm not sure he's the better wrestler of the two. I don't really know. I think they might nullify each other. We have seen it. He looked pretty damn good with his wrestling against Giga Chikadze, but he still landed only 2 of 7. I would like to think that Arnold Allen has better takedown defense than Giga Chikadze. Sneaky one, I might say, could be Max Griffin. Max Griffin, like, he tends to wrestle a lot. So does Tim Means, but at least we've seen Max Griffin look better of late than ever. And against Zelima Imadaev, he landed 6 of 11, 4 of 5 against Alex Morono. So like we know the potential's there, and it's an aging veteran and Tim Means, who's a hard out and sometimes poses problems for anybody striking. How do you solve that problem? You just put him on his back. So I'm interested to see that matchup. I really like Max Griffin.
I'm going to throw a stat out at you as someone in the chat talked about how Jared Vanderaa is going to get 5 takedowns tonight.
No, that's not happening. I mean, he could.
Jared Vanderaa has 1 takedown in his 6 UFC fights.
I don't even see that.
And the only takedown came against Harry Hunsinger in his UFC debut, which was, by the way, was on the Contender Series. So actually, UFC competition, he has 0 takedowns.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm looking at it right now. I don't see that. So, yeah, the Harry Hunsucker performance is the one where, like, that's the low-level heavyweight MMA where big man gets on top, big man wins. So, Cortez Acosta off of his back is probably going to be absolutely horrible. And if Vanderaa wants to stay relevant inside the UFC, he better stop striking with everybody. Like, that is not your path. Like, you need to get on top and try to display that BJJ black belt that he trains so much in. So I'm not gonna bank on that, but the ceiling's there, I guess.
Yeah, I do not trust Jared Vanderaa at all, just because of what we've seen inside UFC competition. Now, you got to check out our friends over at BetMGM, as they have a NBA no-brainer going on for you right now, as BetMGM is giving you a chance at $200 for free. Yep, you heard that right. $200 for free simply by clicking the link in the description and pinned comment below. Any team tonight hits a three-pointer, you win $200 in free bets. It's that simple. Take advantage of these offers when they come in. It's the best way to beat the books. Bet $10 to win $200 if any team hits a three-pointer. This must be a pregame money line bet. This offer is available in all states except New York, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, and Ontario. So be sure to check out our friends over there at BetMGM. Of course, you're looking to place a bet here on the fights here today. Check them out over there in terms of that one. Any by the way, speaking of the betting side, is there a bet that stuck out to you? I know you're always you're prop game hunting over there.
Yeah, so I made a video this week for Odd Shopper, locating some of the best bets. I will talk on some of them. Christian Rodriguez inside the distance. It's at plus 100, going up against a guy who missed weight. Missing weight can help strong wrestlers and grapplers. I don't really foresee that happening. I think that everything that I saw from Christian Rodriguez from the submission grappling department against Jonathan Pierce, if Joshua Weems initiates takedowns again, I think he's getting submitted. I think he's getting finished one way or another. So plus 100 is fine. And Jungyeon Park is a guy that I like today just because of the massive step up in competition that Joseph Holmes is doing. Obviously, from a physical stature standpoint, like he's going to have to get inside because he's going to get hit with broomstick jabs and straight punches and just straight attacks. So I think Jungyeon Park has some sneaky takedown upside today if he closes the gap.
He's one of those guys that I just couldn't get to as much as I wanted to, which was more of a roster construction situation. By the way, there's a comment over in the YouTube by Andrew. He goes, feels like Arlovsky with a 65-point win could be optimal today. All other dogs could easily bust. Andrew, I'm with you, man. I can certainly see that because Pete, you talked about it on the strategy show on Thursday. When we're talking about these underdogs, it's like, well, who do you give a great shot to go out there and get the win? And and Arlovsky is somebody that from a fantasy score upside, he just you don't expect it. But and I sit there and say, at that underneath 8,000, who do you want to get to? Tim Means, okay. Probably more of a cash game play than a GPP play for me. I don't want to get to Vanderaa. Trayshawn Gore, you mentioned it a little while ago. It's just he's seeking for that knockout so much that it scares me that it just never comes, and and Frem gets a stoppage at some point. Khalil Roundtree, I mean, he's just so hit or miss. I don't mind getting there. Deledze, look, first round upside, no question about it. Holmes, Garcia, Durden, Weems. I mean, there's just not a lot that sticks out to you, even though, of course, then watch today be like a $500 day come through.
Yeah, right. So a couple things to touch on with that, and I'm glad you brought it all up. This is not a week where I would cross anybody off because of the total points that they'll score today. You know what I mean? Like sometimes on certain cards, we're like, they got 60, 70 point upside. I'm going to limit my exposure. Today, I think you need all the points. So whether it's 50 points in a win, 60 points in a win, we're going to see a low total part of the optimal lineup. So do not cross people off because of their limited ceiling today. Also, to kind of touch on, I wanted to mention a comment, which I thought was a very good comment. Let me see if I can find it. Mr. Guy saying, Safe Saud is going to have Gore throwing hands, Pete, which a coaching change could lead to a different type of fighter. At the end of the day, the fighter still needs to go in there and needs to let their hands go. I mean, Tiki Gosen was trying to get Trayshawn Gore to throw his hands. Like, I don't know how else you could tell somebody to throw their hands other than doing it for them or like mashing a button with a controller. Like, from a strategy standpoint and perhaps a confidence standpoint, a coaching change could help him. I'm slightly accounting for that, but I'm not going overboard and saying, oh, wow, Safe Saud is in a corner. It's a completely different fight. So be careful with that.
Something I'll mention that I did in terms of my crunches, I did create two groups. One group was a finisher group. Another was a underexposed group. My underexposed group was Weems, Holmes, Garcia, Vandera, and Arlovsky. And I told Cruncher at most give me one of those in the lineups. And then my finisher group was Rodriguez, Cortez Acasa, Hawes, Cooper, and Park. I will say this: my only concern, my concern with Chase Hooper is Steve Garcia is a wild man. I mean, he is going to throw some punches that could clip Chase Hooper. But I ultimately feel that I think Hooper's going to be able to use that to his advantage to be able to get the fight to the ground.
Yeah. So when you're fighting technical people, it's pretty easy to see what's coming. You may not be able to stop it, but when they have sharp lines, you tend to see things. When you're going up against somebody who's such a wild card and Steve Garcia, who's wild and throws unorthodox techniques, you get hit with shots you never saw coming. And that sounds pretty obvious, but a lot of times fighters will tell you when you go up against somebody who isn't the most technical and somewhat closer towards being green, sometimes you have a harder problem with them because they just throw stuff that they shouldn't be throwing. And I can see Hooper getting knocked out one of these days because I do not think that he has good striking. He strikes enough. And then maybe the wild tendencies of Steve Garcia opens up a body lock takedown en route to back control. He was controlled on the mat so long for like 14 minutes against Luis Pena, who could not submit him with a rear naked choke. If Chase Hooper gets that position, he's submitting Steve Garcia. So it's just a matter of getting it there. If this becomes a striking matchup, it starts to favor Steve Garcia every single minute that ticks off the clock.
Oli asked this question a little while ago. Says, if you stack the main event, do you pick one as your captain? Of course, now he's talking about on the FanDuel side of the equation there.
No.
I would, in terms of the captain spot, now, if one of these guys was extensively a grappler, I would understand that thought process. But to me, I want to prioritize people who can finish because I do expect the main event to go 25 minutes.
So I don't have the salaries for FanDuel. What's the salaries for the main event fighters on FanDuel?
Allen, $18, Kattar, $17.
Yeah, you can't stack over there. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like that's getting like an $88 and an $8,900 fighter on DraftKings. Like imagine stacking that. I couldn't do it. DraftKings makes a little bit more sense because of the 8,000. Personally, I'm sure there's going to be people that stack on FanDuel, but you are chopping away a lot of your salary by doing so. Yeah, it's more of a DraftKings play to me, cash play. It's just the easiest way to kind of pencil in points.
To me, when I look at the FanDuel slate, the fights that stick out to me just from a salary aspect, Moda and Durden, $16 and $13. Hawes and Roman Dolidze, $15, Hawes, $17. Jacoby and Roundtree, same exact pricing, 17 and 15. Frem and Gore, 16 and 14. Those would be the fights that would be the prioritize those fights on the FanDuel slate.
Yeah, I agree with you. Those fights seem a little bit too cheap for how I'm expecting them to go. FanDuel's a different animal today, and that's how I would definitely attack FanDuel. DraftKings, pretty simple, self-explanatory. You could be basically punting and having a losing fighter and doing just fine on DraftKings.
I will say I was a little surprised by what we're seeing ownership-wise on Marcos Rosario de Lima. Over 30% ownership that we're projecting right now for him. I thought that number would be a little lower than what it is.
I think it's because we're all just waiting for Arlovsky to finally get knocked out. Like it was such a common theme. Like he was always getting knocked out, and he's turned a quarter, man. And he's just developed a good footwork, and he wins rounds. So his round winning system has allowed him to survive a lot of these fights. And he's only lost to the absolute elite. It still comes into question whether that chin's there or not. But yeah, I have to tell you that Arlovsky is clearly one of my favorite underdogs from just a winning standpoint. I don't care about his point performance, but I'm getting to Arlovsky plenty just because. And damn, we got like 350 people in here. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Shoot your questions into chat if we can get those likes up over 150. I'd really, really appreciate it. I know Jason would too.
Yeah, looking through some other questions that have come in that maybe we haven't got to. What's your favorite 3 to 4 fighter core for tournaments?
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
For 4.
Like if if I'm looking at a core play, so now I'm looking at finishers. So I'm looking at the Cortez Acosta Vandera fight would be one that would stick out to me. I would say no matter what, the Hawes to Lidze fight would have to be a fighter would have to be in your core, just because of what I'm expecting that fight to be. I mean, Junior Park. I mean, it's a roster construction situation. If you can fit him in at 9,300, he's got that takedown upside. Josh Frim, I know you've mentioned him before. Not really trying to sound like a broken record, but like, you know, I look at someone like a Max Griffin, who is around the same ownership as a Marcus Rogerio de Lima. I would almost rather get to Griffin than I would de Lima.
Really? I would say that's a contrarian play for sure. Definitely a contrarian play. I'm not against that at all. And for me, for my core, I would be starting with a Carlos Moda or a Josh Fremd, something in the mid range. And then I'm going to go up to the top end and figure out, do I want to get behind Christian Rodriguez, Jin Park, or Chase Hooper? For me personally, I like what I saw for Christian Rodriguez in his debut. Now he's made the camp change and he's a part of Fight Ready now too. So like, I like the fact that he's there. That's a strong camp, good striking, good wrestling, good everything. So it's hard for me to get away from Christian Rodriguez today.
You know, and one of the things that I mentioned this on the strategy show, Arlovsky, the fighters that do knock him down, they are the elite of the elite in this division. It's Ngannou, it's Rosenstruck, it's Overeem, it's Miocic. Now, the crazy stat on Andrei Arlovsky is he actually has not scored a knockdown since 2015. And we talked about this. I mean, what was it? 2009, 10, 11, somewhere in there, where I think we were all calling for Andre to retire. Like, he just kept getting knocked out. And then he's had this career resurgence, which you have to really credit the coaching staff there at American Top Team and what they've done with Andre.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. If you think about Andrei Arlovsky, he's fought several people from American Top Team. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like that, I mean, I guess heavyweights are rare in general, and eventually you're going to run into each other, and face crossroads. But like Arlovsky and Rogerio de Lima being a part of the same camp makes things even more interesting. Like, because we know that these guys know each other in and out. We know that they know their weaknesses. If they don't, the coaching staff clearly does. And you can't tell me that the entire coaching staff has a hands-off approach. Well, the best man's going to win. No, like they're going to do everything they can to get their guy to win. Especially when they see a fighter in Andrei Arlovsky who is at the tail end of his career, and Rogerio de Lima, I don't know, man. He's kind of like, he's looked decently well in his past couple fights. The Ben Rothwell performance was like a breakout for me. So if that happens today, like Rogerio de Lima in a win, 120 points, 110, 107, 106, 129, like the ceiling is there all day long. And he doesn't have to worry about getting submitted, because I doubt Andrei Arlovsky is going to submit him.
Great question from Joe in the chat. He says, does Arlovsky score the same in a win as the loser in the main event?
That's tough to say.
That's an excellent thought process, though.
So I think so. And the reason why it will always be a lean towards Arlovsky is because of the savings. So let's say like that's $700 savings going from Calvin Kattar to Andrei Arlovsky. And if they score like 2 to 3 points difference, it's not that salary. As long as these top end options help you pay up for the correct fighters, it would definitely be a Arlovsky over the loser in the main event. But I'm still stacking the main event in a couple of my lineups.
Josh, is the main event a must play in tournaments?
No, how much do I have?
I have a ton on the main event.
Yeah.
But to me, it's more about the salaries than, I mean, obviously I'm expecting it to be a 25-minute fight, but it's because over on more on the DK side than the FanDuel side, it's because of the salaries of 8,200, 8,000. It just makes roster construction much easier to get to guys I want to get to.
Damn, man. Like, I don't know what it is with my construction today, but like, I'm looking at my exposures and how I created lineups, and I'm like, I got that much of this fight or that much of these guys. Like I have like 70% of the main event. I think that's I'm trying to figure out if that's a little too aggressive, but the pricing makes sense for at least one of them to be in the optimal lineup. So I'm not against it. I was trying to get a little bit less just because of the chalk. Um, yeah. What's your thoughts on the 70%? Think it's a little high?
uh,
Yeah.
I'm higher.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm like 85% on the main event.
Okay. So I mean, sometimes I just completely put 100% and
Yeah, I mean, look, it's for me, it's hard to get away from the event just because of the salary.
yeah, watch it. Watch this just be a crazy fight card and like there's 600-point performers and neither one of them are in the main event. So, oh goodness gracious.
I mean, like, look, if you do want to, try to separate yourself from the field, avoid the main event is a great way to do it, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But to me, it comes down to this price point of even if I stack the main event, it just puts me in a great position to be able to get to, say, it's getting to a Cortez Acosta, it's getting to a Josh Frim, it's getting to a Jung Young Park, it's getting to a Chase Hooper, a Christian
Mhm.
Rodriguez. It just allows me to get to more of the fighters I want to get to that I see as a high probability of scoring over 100 points.
All right. Let me hit you with a question.
All right.
Two least favorite fighters above 8,800 and above.
88 and above. Rogerio de Lima would be one easy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He's got to knock him out in the first round. If he doesn't knock him out in the first round, I think that Arlovsky will drag him into a Andre Arlovsky fight. And it's just the fantasy upside's not high there in a decision route. I mean, if he just can't knock him out, I don't like it there.
Max Griffin's got to
Second,
be number one for me. Of the all the 8,800 and above
in terms of GPPs or cash?
GPPs.
GPPs. Okay, yeah, I would go Griffin number 2 for me.
Okay. And I always kind of circle these unknown fighters that have not debuted in the octagon. And traditionally, Dana White's Contender Series fighters disappoint more often than they impress. Uh, every fighter's, you know, their own fighter, so you can't really hold the standard above, like Cortez Acosta. But like Dana White's Contender Series, sometimes they drop the ball, but he's getting a softball matchup against Jared Vandera.
Now I was looking up the Andre Arlovsky stats. It is 8 fights ago the last time Arlovsky was dropped in a fight. That was against Rosenstruck in November of 2019. So
It's
just
quite impressive, man.
so, and just to kind of put some names to it: Philippe Leans, Tanner Bozer, Tom Aspinall, Chase Sherman, Carlos Felipe, Jared Vandera, Jake Collier.
Heavyweights suck, man. But like that's Rogerio de Lima hits harder than every single one of those guys. That's the one issue. That's the one hole in that argument. But you're correct in saying that in his losses against guys who can crack, he's been destroyed. So I mean, we'll see. From a better minute winner and a better mixed martial artist, it's Arlovsky all day long. But we like round one fighters, so that's why I'm getting to Rogerio de Lima plenty. Not sure if I'm matching the field. Looking like, wow, the field, you are correct. The field is a little aggressive on Rogerio de Lima.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
surprised by that.
yeah, I mean, I'm close to it. I have to tell you, I am close to it.
Yeah. Favorite MVP over on the FanDuel side of the equation. So, Chase Hooper is your highest owned MVP. In terms
What's the
of
Rodriguez price?
he is $18. That can't be right. Is that right?
If that's right, bro, I'm telling you
Did
right
I,
now.
did I write that wrong in my sheet here? Let me log into my FanDuel here.
No, he is 18. He's my favorite. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I might go. I can't even play FanDuel. I would be putting him listen to this. He has some of my favorite inside the distance odds. Joshua Weems in his losses gets finished via strikes. Weems technically, offensively, looks good when he's throwing strikes. When he gets hit with a shot, like a really good one, there's the door. He wants out. And I also think that he's going to be susceptible to getting submitted because Christian Rodriguez was so close to finishing Jonathan Pierce, who is a mid-level bantamweight and actually on the rise. So that is a complete misprice. And I cannot believe that. 18's ridiculous.
A lot of Joseph Holmes questions coming in. One of them I'm looking at here says Holmes sitting at plus 185 and under 7K. Is he going to be owned by everyone? He's getting decent ownership. I mean, in terms of an underdog. What's your thoughts on Joseph Holmes?
So my thoughts for Joseph Holmes, Jamie Pickett bullied him, and showed him that like there's levels to this game. And I thought it was a nice, lesson to be learned. Now, I think that Jung Young Park and Jamie Pickett, if they were to face off, I think that Jamie Pickett's in for a very difficult matchup. Joseph Holmes, from a physical stature, can give anybody problems. He's super long, has pretty good punches, power, a nice knee up the middle that was on display against Alan Amedovski, a sneaky submission arsenal, working alongside James Krause, who's going to complement your style all day long. The issue is when Joseph Holmes was put on his back, that cardio was zapped. The going got tough. I saw a fighter who is learning on the job. And for me, I get the price tag 6,900, why people are going to go away from it. I'm getting to some Joseph Holmes, but like Jung Young Park with the correct game plan, smothers that distance, gets inside, taxes the gas tank of Joseph Holmes, even just attempting takedowns, making Holmes work, and then he can punish him on the feet with strikes or even attempt a submission. So I like Park here at 9,300, but from like a round one standpoint, Joseph Holmes gives a lot of people problems just because he's a massive human being for the division.
Samuel, appreciate you in the super chat. His over under is 7.5. I gotta go under there, Sam. I gotta go under. It's a big number.
Yeah. Sam, what's up, bud? I'm gonna say under that as well. If it's over, man, then the main event's definitely not even gonna be a part of the optimal lineup. And Logan, appreciate that.
So, of course, you got any questions, be sure to line those up in the chat. Of course, we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Of course, they're a longtime sponsor here of the MMA Live Before Lock show. They got their daily prop-based contest, so be sure to check out everything that PrizePicks does have to offer. And, of course, click that link in the description below to get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and up to a $100 deposit match bonus when you sign up and make a deposit with PrizePicks. Now, Pete, I gave a 5-pack of PrizePicks plays, if I can say that correctly, on Thursday, and I like the same 5. And my number on Phil Hollis on the Fight Time actually went up to 12.5.
Wow. So, I mean, I still like the Jacoby one you brought up, the significant strikes. I like that one quite a bit. I'm expecting a kickboxing matchup, tons of respect between the two. When there's respect between the two, that's when the significant strikes can kind of pile on. So I like that number. The under for the Phil Hawes and Roman Dolidze fight, because of the volatility, makes a ton of sense. The fact that it went up is interesting. I like the line a little bit more now that it's a little higher. It was close before. I liked it still, but I mean, it's going the opposite way of how we're liking it. So I think it'll be fireworks, as Nick Ostera says in chat.
Do like the Arnold Allen takedowns over 0.5. I think he gets at least one takedown at some point in 25 minutes.
It's a long time not to, right? So I'm going to say that the fact that didn't get to 1.5, or even 1 or whatever the heck, if he needed 2, I don't think I would play it. He just needs 1.
If the number was 1, I wouldn't love it. Like it would not be something I would prioritize. I would lean over, but it's one of these fights where I can see a situation, and this is on both sides of the equation, on the Calvin side and on the Arnold Allen side, where you have a very close round on the feet. You've been battling it out for 4.5 minutes, and it's pretty even. And all of a sudden, one of those coaches goes, let's get that takedown, and potentially a way to secure the round. If you feel like, hey, the round is pretty much even on the feet, let's try to get that takedown, maybe try to sway the judge in our way. The Max Griffin significant strike 63.5. I like the over there. And I like the over and Josh Trim on takedowns at 1.5.
Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah, some good lines for prize picks. So that's pretty cool, man. And I'll tell you, Jason's pretty sharp with those lines. Sam, yes, that is me on the super chat on the $100 bill. So yeah, that's from one of my fights.
Yeah, that's a that was obviously one of your early. I think that's from one of your earlier on Bellator fights. I want to say.
Not really. I mean, it's kind of like in the middle of my career.
I can just
but,
tell by your face. You got that kind of baby face back in those days.
but I did not by choice. I had a girlfriend who like hated facial hair, so she ruined it. And I would have been sporting a beard all along. So now I'm with my girl and with a baby on the way. Can't wait. And I can grow the beard out with no worries. So
Alan says Garcia is my favorite GPP leverage play MMA donk.
no, you're not.
Like, look, if you're looking at that under 8,000 range and you say, who are the guys that have that high probability? And Garcia, I would throw him up there just because of the ability to knock someone out.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, like Garcia from a standpoint, like a skill standpoint, as Jay Rose says, he says he's pure trash. He's not good. But sometimes the better fighter doesn't always win. So it could come down to a lucky shot, like a spinning back fist, a looping overhand when he's getting pieced up or something silly. I'm accounting for it in some of my lineups. It's not a confident play by any means because, like, from skills, from what I've seen, he makes a ton of mistakes on the mat, and that is like, that's going to be a green light for Chase Hooper's submission skills.
Frem or Griffin last in on a DraftKings GPP. This coming
Frem.
from Logan. Yeah, it would be Frem because of the GPP, the upside fantasy score upside that I believe he has with a finish at some point.
The worst thing that would happen today is that Trayshawn Gore looks like the fighter I was hoping he would for his first two fights. Like, there is a world where that happens. On the Ultimate Fighter, he was really good leg kicks, solid take down the fence, good hands when he let him go, great combinations. But he is coming off of a knockout defeat in his past 3 months. So I don't care if he put Khabib in his corner. Like, you're still just that chin got touched against a guy who's not a knockout fighter, and Cody Brundage. So if I'm Fremd, I'm touching that chin early. And that Fremd has a great coaching staff. And you mentioned it's the same coaching staff as Brundage, correct? Like Mark Montoya?
Yes. Yep.
All right,
Factory
cool.
X. Yep.
Yeah.
Ryan says if you had to choose one in cash, Allen or Kattar? I personally would go Kattar just because I did pick him to win the fight.
Yeah, I mean, as far as picks, I'm picking Allen to win, but as far as cash, like that $200 savings in a close fight can make you spend up to a better fighter. So for cash reasons, I'll say Kattar. He's cheaper.
I mean, going against your New England brother in there. I mean, wow.
No, I mean, I've been backing Kattar forever. I backed Kattar against Max Holloway and looked like an idiot. Remember that? Like, that fight was terrible. We got Andrew in chat saying not much talk about Jacoby and Roundtree. Seems like it'd be very important to be on the right side here. I would agree. And Mike with the alert, 15 minutes to lock. So make sure you guys are working on those lineups and no funny business with the lineups. I will say that it's a high level fight. And we have seen Roundtree get bullied by Marcin Prachnio, walk him down. Mm-hmm. Jacoby's a 10 times better striker than Prachnio. So I like Jacoby a lot today.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jacoby a lot today. I did find myself getting to Roundtree as well. I mean, my primary thought is I expect this to be a 15-minute kickboxing matchup between these two guys. That's how I kind of see it going. But I mean, we are seeing Jacoby come. When Jacoby has gotten finishes in the fights, they tend to come early. They don't come late.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really a finisher, but like he knocked the hell out of who the hell did he knock out? Da Un Jung.
Yeah, when I was doing my crunches this afternoon before the show and finalizing my lineups, I found myself getting to a ton of Dustin Jacoby. At one point, I think I had 60% Jacoby, and I'm like,
holy moly!
I was like, that's just too much. So I had to bring down that that percentage on him, I wanted to get. I think I said to maybe 40% on
What do I
Jacoby.
got today? Yeah, I'm close. I'm like 35%. Um, but in saying that, I also have a decent amount of Khalil Roundtree just based on how I'm getting my exposure and targeting the correct fights. If a finish comes, I actually think that Roundtree knocks out Dustin Jacoby. Um, for 15 minutes, I think Dustin Jacoby's going to be picking apart Khalil Roundtree. A very talented Muay Thai fighter. The split stance could make things a little bit more interesting. But we've seen Jacoby switch. If he incorporates leg kicks or calf kicks, this could be even a better performance than his last one because he relies so much on his hands despite being a really touted kickboxer.
Of course, don't forget to get your free $200 from BetMGM. Click the link below or pin comment in the video description to take advantage of the offer that BetMGM has going on for you right now. As Nick says, Muay Thai ready Roundtree. The concern I have with Roundtree is I feel like he's a hit or miss guy. Kind of like you think about Uriah Hall in the UFC. He was like a very hit or miss guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what scares me about Khalil Roundtree is the Khalil Roundtree we saw again, several years ago against Eric Anders. If that guy's showing up, yeah, you love what he could potentially do in this fight. But I just believe Dustin Jacoby is the better kickboxer.
Yeah, the last time Roundtree faced a high level kickboxer, well, he just beat Carl Roberson, who's supposedly a glory kickboxer, but that comes with a gigantic asterisk, like completely. Just because you fought in it one time does not, no. I will have to go back and say that the performance over Gokhan Saki, who's a kickboxing legend, was very surprising and proves that, MMA striking is so much different than kickboxing. The little gloves, you can't account for any mistakes, less volume, more precision in MMA. And I will say that it just takes one, especially from Khalil Roundtree. So he's priced as one of the best underdogs on the slate.
Ryan, you are not stupid in playing Holmes and Cash. I'm not against that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not against it as well.
Who's the fighter we're not talking about?
Who are we not talking about? Josh hating on my facial hair. I'm trying to get that Habib wrestling over here. Um, could be Cody Durden, right? Like from a wrestling standpoint, he looked pretty good and knocked out JP Bays in his previous performance. High volume takedown artists, 2 of 13 against Chris Gutierrez and a draw in his debut. 2 of 2 against Jimmy Flick. 5 of 10 against Arichi Lang. So like the takedown upsides there, it's can he avoid getting submitted? And everything I've seen from Carlos Mota on the feet and submission wise would make me say no. I think Mota wins this and finishes him, but there is upside if he's worked on his defensive skills.
Logan, I would attack the first fight on this fight card. I don't necessarily love always going to the first fight of the night, but I just think because of the high upside of a 100-point finisher in that matchup, I think it's one that you got to prioritize. But it does.
Yeah, I mean,
It's much easier to get to it on a FanDuel slate because of the salaries, as opposed to what we're seeing on DraftKings, where obviously Rodriguez is the most expensive fighter.
when you go and you look at the film of Joshua Weems, it's like he throws good combinations. He's aggressive. He hits hard.
He
But then you
he's
look at like the returning fire, he gets hit. And when he gets hit, he crumples. He does not give the best body language. So if Christian Rodriguez overperformed in his debut against Jonathan Pierce and completely it was a fluke performance and he just looked like career best, then Weems could be the guy we're not talking about. But I'm not accounting for that today. If you are, congratulations to you. I'm trying not to be spread too thin today. So taking some stances and taking a stance on Christian Rodriguez.
if you go to Joshua Weems' Tapology, here's how I would describe Joshua Weems. You tell them it's a fight on a Saturday night, they don't care what the rules are. He's ready to scrap down because he's got all types of combat sports on his record.
Yeah, I mean, and experience from anything, just being acclimated to competition is huge. So, I still like Christian Rodriguez, but from a fight for your dollar perspective, like there are some fighters on here like you don't want to roster because they're not going to pull the trigger. Joshua Williams is going to pull the trigger and probably just get destroyed. Um, but he has the skills to make him competitive up until he gets hit with that big shot.
Ryan says DraftKings cash question: Waldo and Mota, or Hooper and Jacoby? I would go the first route with the Waldo and Mota.
Yes, I agree. It's a
It
good. I
is.
mean, you can make an argument for both of them, but I like Waldo and Moto a little bit more.
Yeah. And Ryan says, he goes, I could use Phil Hawes instead of Mota. Whew. I would probably go Hawes and Waldo there. I like that combination together.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally the flyweights are going to go completely under owned when they have an increased pace, increased amount of volume, lower finish rate. So you tend to want to back the heavier guys. So with that thought process, you would probably, pivot from Moda to Phil Hawes and go Waldo and Hawes just based on the tendencies of the division and the finish rate. But for me, I like Moda a little bit more today.
Now, if people are a Stokastic Plus member and you've got access to that top fire tool, and looking at on the DraftKings side of the equation, one of the things I like to compare is ownership versus top 6 percentage. And there was 4 fighters today where I saw a little bit of difference that kind of stuck out to me. Like,
Okay.
Someone like a Cortez Acosta, where we're projecting him at 36% ownership, but a 40% chance of being in that top 6. These are the type of things I like to look at. A Young Park is another example of this. Christian Rodriguez is another aspect of this. The Christian Rodriguez, I think it's more of a roster construction situation with him being 9,400 of being able to get to them. But when you are a member over there, that to me is something to look at of sitting there going, okay, who is maybe has a higher percentage in that top 6 as in comparison to ownership?
Yeah, and Neil does a great job with that with the other sports, kind of just talking about the top fighters tool as Jason just kind of mentioned. And Jason's big on that as well, and it makes a ton of sense. It's such a helpful tool and it could make you and point you in the correct direction. This week it's a little interesting. The issue with heavyweights, right, is if it doesn't happen within the first minute and they land one shot, it's typically a low volume win with a one knockdown, 100-point flat type of thing. Whereas other fights, you could have multiple knockdowns, a little bit more volume, a little bit more violence, some takedowns mixed in. And the heavyweights, if it's not in 1 minute, can come with a limited ceiling.
By the way, so there's one fighter who is underneath a 10% chance of having greater than 100 points. Who do you think that fighter is?
Underneath,
Yes, 100 points.
I don't have a clue.
Andre Arlovsky.
I was going to say that. Watch Arlovsky get a finish today. When's his last finish?
2015 against Travis Brown.
Holy crap, that's a long time ago. He scored 120. Uh-oh. You heard it here first. Fix your lineups. Arlovsky's getting a finish today. Everybody's accounting for a Rogerio de Lima finish. Turns out Andre Arlovsky's getting the finish. So if you roster Arlovsky, you're gonna have 120 points.
7 years ago, bro. 7. Damn.
I'm being sarcastic, but I also think that there is a possibility because of Rogerio de Lima's terrible cardio.
It's terrible. First round upside for him. If he can get the knockout, yeah, that's the upside, and I understand him getting there. But Arlovsky just knows how to win scorecards. He just knows how to do it.
Yeah, as soon as we get off this, I'm going to do a little degenerate bet and go and play an Arlovsky finish. I want to see. We have Oli 1233 saying I would take a 10-1 on an Andre Arlovsky finish. I'm probably going to do so once I get off this, just because to make things fun for the afternoon.
Let me look at the old prop bets over here on the Pitbull Andre Arlovsky. So he's plus 210 overall. So Arlovsky wins via TKO KO plus 1,000.
Okay, we go.
Arlovsky via submission plus 2,000.
I just take the inside the distance. What is that?
800 plus 800.
Yeah, I probably just do that.
Let me find my favorite one. Andre Arlovsky wins via split or majority decision plus 1,200.
Wow, that's like a Caitlin Chukagian line too. You know it's about to happen. Um, wow,
I'm surprised the books have it that high.
I'm gonna put so much money on Andre Arlovsky, and he's just gonna get marked within 1 minute.
And Pete's gonna go, damn it, Jason, why did I let him talk
Yeah,
me into
right.
that?
Yeah, exactly. Man, what a great show. You guys are the best. Uh, 360 people in here. If we could get the likes over 100, we'd really appreciate it. And we hope to see some winning screenshots today. That would be great.
Favorite 7,600 fighter or below on DraftKings.
Andre Arlovsky.
7,600.
It is Andre Arlovsky. It is.
If it's not Arlovsky, oh man, that's a tough.
Who the hell is it? It's Arlovsky.
God, I mean, what, maybe Tim Means.
Okay.
Head of the game. Who's going to
I think Trayshawn Gore is like one of the wild cards on the slate because like the coaching staff, things could work out a little bit differently. But he's given me no reason to have any faith other than some limited exposure. But I have like 20% Trayshawn Gore. Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting to him.
As I said earlier in the show, if Phil Halls doesn't come in, my lineups are just done.
You're a big Phil Halls guy today. I'm a big Josh Fremd, Carlos Mota guy today.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I ran a lot of crunches today. Let's just say that, and finally got to a point where I kind of liked where I was at. There was, I did X anybody out. I probably should have X'd out Jared Vandera, but I put him in 5%.
Yeah, I think Joshua Weems deserves the X. He has blue hair, so blue hair gets the X. Like that's what's he, Ninja, the streamer? No, get rid of him.
Have you ever colored your hair?
I'm sure I have for like Halloween. I used to have frosted tips back in like middle school, but besides that, like, no.
You were that guy.
Yeah, of course I was. Goodness gracious. But man, you guys are the best. And we have Joey Rock saying, thanks for helping me take it down last week, guys, going for back-to-back today. Yeah, it's what we love. We love to hear that. We love nothing more than to see winning screenshots and you guys profiting on a great day of fights.
And of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in here for Live Before Lock. Of course, as Pete said, love to see those winning screenshots. Of course, huge thanks goes out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. Be sure to take advantage of the offer they have for Stokastic members here. So check out there, make a deposit, and up to $100 instant match deposit. Be sure to take advantage of that. Of course, coming up in 1 hour from now will be NBA Deeper Dive, followed by NBA Live Before Lock. So stay tuned here on Stokastic.com. Hopefully everyone has a great day, and we'll talk to you next week right here on the MMA Strategy Show and Live Before Lock.